poor woman tried to pay for one slice of bread. The single dad CEO said, "Sit down. Eat first." Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. A cold, windy evening in the city of New York, a young woman named Lily stood in line at a small bakery, clutching her worn-out wallet. She had just enough money to buy a slice of bread, the last of her funds. She had been struggling for weeks to make ends meet. Her rent was overdue, and her job as a waitress barely covered the necessities. Lily had never imagined herself in this position. Just a few years ago, she had dreams of opening her own restaurant, of becoming a chef and living a life where money wasn't a constant worry. But life had a different plan. Her father's passing, her mother's illness, and an endless cycle of bad luck had left her in this spot, standing at the bakery, hoping that a slice of bread would fill the empty space inside her. The line was short, but her mind was racing. How much longer could she keep pretending everything was fine? How many more times would she find herself in a position like this, scraping by just to survive? When it was her turn, she stepped up to the counter, her heart pounding. The cashier, a middle-aged woman with a warm smile, greeted her. "What can I get for you today?" she asked. Lily's voice barely above a whisper, she replied. "Just one slice of bread, please." She pulled out the last of her money and handed it over. As the cashier bagged the bread, a tall man in a sharp suit walked into the bakery. His presence was commanding, and he caught Lily's eye immediately. There was something about him, something that seemed out of place in this humble bakery. He glanced at Lily, then at the cashier. Before she could even take her slice, the man stepped forward and placed a hand on the counter. "How much for the bread?" he asked, his voice deep and smooth. The cashier paused, looking at Lily, then at him, and then back at Lily. "It's just $1, she replied, unsure of why this man was asking. "I'll pay for it," the man said, without hesitation. Lily turned to protest, but he stopped her with a kind smile. "Please sit down. Eat first. You look like you could use it." Lily's face flushed with embarrassment, but she couldn't deny the kindness in his eyes. She was about to refuse again when the cashier handed her the bread with a nod, urging her to take a seat. She hesitated for a moment, then sat at a small table near the window, feeling the weight of her situation pressing down on her. She wasn't used to accepting help, especially from a stranger. She stared at the bread in front of her, wondering what had just happened. The man didn't leave immediately. Instead, he stood by the counter, waiting for his own order. As he waited, Lily couldn't help but glance at him. He was tall, with dark hair and an aura of confidence that was hard to ignore. There was something oddly familiar about him, but she couldn't quite place it. Just then, the man turned, his eyes meeting hers once more. "You don't have to thank me," he said with a smile. "Sometimes, we all need a little kindness in our lives." Lily nodded, still unsure of how to react. As she took a small bite of the bread, she wondered if this would be the last time she saw him. Little did she know, this simple act of kindness would change the course of her life in ways she never imagined. The next few days passed in a blur for Lily. She couldn't stop thinking about the man who had bought her the bread. His face, his smile, his kindness, everything about him felt out of place in her life. It wasn't just that he had paid for her meal. It was how he had treated her like a person, not someone struggling, not someone to be pitied. She had tried to push the encounter to the back of her mind, but the memory lingered, warm and comforting, like the bread she had eaten that day. She went back to her small apartment, where the rent was overdue, and her worries about the future continued to pile up. The noise of the city outside her window reminded her of everything she was trying to escape. It was a constant reminder that she wasn't where she wanted to be. The next morning, as she walked to work, something caught her eye. Across the street, she saw the man from the bakery again. He was standing outside a cafe, his back turned to her, speaking to someone in a business suit. She hesitated for a moment, wondering if it was the same person, if she was imagining things. Then, he turned, and their eyes met. Lily froze. He smiled at her, a genuine smile, and she couldn't help but return it, though her heart was racing. He nodded toward the cafe and motioned for her to join him. Hesitant, Lily crossed the street, wondering what this man could possibly want from her. When she reached the cafe, he stood up and greeted her. "Lily, right?" he asked, his voice warm, but there was something else behind it, something more intriguing. "I didn't expect to see you again." "I didn't expect to see you either," she replied, surprised by how comfortable she felt around him. "How are you?" he asked, his voice sincere. "Still getting by," she said, not sure how much to share. They sat down, and he ordered coffee for them both. They began talking about their lives, and she found herself opening up to him more than she had to anyone in a long time. She told him about her job, her struggles with rent, her dreams of opening a bakery one day. He listened intently, never interrupting, and for the first time in a long while, she didn't feel like she was burdening someone with her troubles. As they spoke, Lily learned more about him. His name was Ethan, and he was the CEO of a successful tech company. The more he talked about his life, the more Lily was in awe of how different their worlds were. He had everything: money, success, connections. But he seemed to carry himself with a quiet humility that set him apart from the others she had met in her life. After a while, Ethan leaned forward, his expression turning serious. "You know," he began, "I've been thinking about what you said the other day. About your dream of opening a bakery. I think you have the talent for it." Lily blinked in surprise. She hadn't expected him to remember something so small. "Really?" she asked, not sure if he was just being polite. Ethan smiled, his eyes steady and earnest. "Yes. In fact, I might be able to help you." Her heart skipped a beat. She didn't know what he meant by that, but the hope that he could help her make her dream a reality filled her with a sense of possibility. As the conversation continued, Ethan shared more details about how he could assist her. He mentioned some connections he had in the restaurant industry and offered to introduce her to people who could help her get started. Lily's mind raced. Could this really be happening? Could someone like him, someone so far removed from her life, really want to help her? It felt too good to be true, but something in his voice, in the way he looked at her, made her believe it might not be. As they finished their coffee, he handed her his business card. "Let me know when you're ready," he said. "We'll make it happen." Lily sat there, stunned. She wasn't sure what to say, but the only words that came to her were, "Thank you." And for the first time in a long while, she felt like maybe, just maybe, her life was about to change. Lily couldn't believe it. Just a few days ago, she was struggling to buy a slice of bread, and now Ethan was offering to help her make her dream a reality. She hadn't expected anyone, especially someone like him, to take her seriously. But there it was, a genuine offer, and her heart was pounding with the weight of possibility. Over the next few weeks, Ethan stayed in touch, offering guidance and connections in the industry. They met regularly, and each time, Lily felt more and more drawn to him. His sincerity, his kindness, and the way he believed in her. It was unlike anything she had ever experienced. She had always been independent, relying on herself to get by. But here was someone offering to help her, not out of pity, but because he truly saw something in her. Lily was hesitant at first, unsure of how to accept such a generous offer. But every time they met, her doubts began to fade. She worked tirelessly on her plans for the bakery, pouring her heart into every detail. With Ethan's help, she secured a small space in a trendy part of town. It was a huge leap, and Lily couldn't have done it without him. One evening, after another productive meeting, Ethan invited her to dinner at a local restaurant. They sat across from each other, and for the first time, the conversation wasn't about business. They talked about life, about their families, their pasts, and their hopes for the future. Lily found herself laughing and sharing stories she hadn't told anyone in years. Ethan listened, his eyes warm, his attention focused entirely on her. There was a quiet moment between them when the conversation slowed, and Lily realized that, somehow, she was starting to feel something more than just gratitude for him. She hadn't expected this, but the connection between them was undeniable. "You know, I never thought I'd be in this position," she said softly, glancing down at her plate. "I didn't think anyone would care enough to help." Ethan leaned forward, his expression sincere. "I care, Lily. I've seen a lot of people in my life, but not many like you. You have something special." She blushed, looking away, feeling the warmth of his words settle in her chest. She hadn't been used to receiving compliments like that, especially not from someone so successful, so self-assured. But somehow, with him, it felt different. Ethan reached across the table, gently touching her hand. "You deserve this," he said, his voice low but filled with conviction. "And I want to help you get there. Not just as a business partner, but because I believe in you." Lily swallowed, her heart racing. She wasn't sure what he meant by that, but the way he said it made her wonder if there was more to his feelings than just business. She had always been cautious, never letting herself get too close to anyone, especially not someone like Ethan. But as she sat there, with him holding her hand, she realized that maybe, just maybe, she could let her guard down. Over the next few weeks, things moved quickly. The bakery was finally ready to open, and Lily felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Ethan was there every step of the way, making sure everything went smoothly. The day of the grand opening, Lily stood outside her new bakery, watching as the first customers walked in. She felt a surge of pride, knowing that she had worked hard to get here. And as Ethan stood beside her, his presence a comforting support, Lily couldn't help but feel like this was just the beginning of something much bigger. As the day went on, they found themselves sharing more moments together, moments that were filled with understanding, laughter, and something else she couldn't quite name. By the end of the evening, when the last customer had left, Ethan turned to her and said, "You did it, Lily. I'm proud of you." Her heart skipped a beat at the way he looked at her, like he truly meant it. And in that moment, Lily realized that this was no longer just about business. There was something deeper between them, something that had been growing quietly but steadily since that day in the bakery. And though she wasn't sure what the future held, Lily knew one thing for sure. Her life had just changed in ways she never expected. As the days passed, Lily felt the weight of her success and the increasing connection with Ethan. The bakery was thriving, and she was beginning to feel like she was finally living the life she had dreamed of. But along with the success came new challenges. Managing the bakery, overseeing the staff, and making sure everything ran smoothly was exhausting. At the same time, her bond with Ethan continued to grow. He visited the bakery often, always offering advice, encouragement, and, more recently, a comforting presence that felt like more than just business. Their conversations became more personal, and Lily started to wonder if there was something more between them. She found herself thinking about him at night, replaying their moments together, his smile, the way he listened to her. Ethan, for his part, seemed to be just as drawn to her. They spent time together outside of business meetings, taking walks in the park, having dinner at quiet restaurants, and talking about everything from their childhoods to their hopes for the future. It was during one of these dinners that Lily felt a shift. As they sat across from each other in a cozy restaurant, surrounded by the hum of quiet conversations, Ethan reached out and took her hand. His touch was gentle but firm, and Lily's heart skipped a beat. "Lily," he said, his voice low and serious, "I want you to know something." She looked at him, her breath catching in her throat. "What is it?" she asked, her pulse quickening. Ethan hesitated for a moment, his gaze softening as he studied her face. "I know we've been focused on your business, your dreams," he said, "but I can't help but feel that we're building something more here." Lily's heart raced, unsure of what he was implying. She had been trying not to overthink their relationship, but it was hard to ignore the way she felt when he was around. The way his presence made everything seem easier, safer, better. Ethan squeezed her hand gently, looking at her with sincerity. "I care about you, Lily, more than I've cared about anyone in a long time." The words hung in the air between them, and Lily's mind spun. She hadn't expected this, hadn't expected to feel this way about him. She had always kept her emotions guarded, afraid to get too close to anyone after everything she had been through. But now, looking at Ethan, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. "I care about you too," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. The relief in Ethan's eyes was palpable, and he smiled, a genuine, warm smile that made Lily's heart melt. "I'm glad to hear that," he said. "I've been waiting for the right moment to tell you." As the evening wore on, the conversation shifted back to their plans for the bakery and the future, but Lily couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed between them. The connection was undeniable now, and she felt a sense of excitement that she hadn't expected. Later that night, after the dinner ended, Ethan walked her home, his presence comforting as they strolled through the quiet streets. When they reached her apartment building, he stopped and turned to her, his eyes searching hers. "Lily," he said softly, "I want to be part of your life, not just as a business partner, but as someone who cares about you." Lily's heart swelled, and for the first time, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this was more than just business. Ethan leaned in, his lips brushing against her cheek in a gentle kiss. The moment lingered, and Lily felt a warmth spread through her chest. She wasn't sure what the future held, but one thing was clear. This was just the beginning of something beautiful. The days following their conversation felt different for Lily. The air between her and Ethan had shifted, and she couldn't help but feel more and more drawn to him. She continued to focus on her bakery, making sure every detail was perfect, but her mind often wandered back to him. The warmth of his words, the kindness in his eyes, it all seemed too good to be true. But as time passed, she found herself letting her guard down, allowing herself to believe in something she had never allowed herself to believe in before. Love. Ethan continued to visit the bakery, his presence a constant source of support and encouragement. He made sure to remind her that she was not alone in this journey, that he was there, not just as a business partner, but as someone who truly cared. Lily was grateful for him, but at the same time, she began to question the depth of her feelings. Was she falling for him because of his kindness, or because she was starting to realize that she wanted him in her life? One afternoon, after a busy day at the bakery, Ethan invited her to join him for a walk in the park. It was a beautiful autumn day, the air crisp and the leaves turning golden. As they walked together, their conversation flowed easily, just like it always did. But today, something felt different. There was a certain tenderness in Ethan's voice, a quiet intensity that made Lily's heart race. He stopped walking for a moment, turning to face her. "Lily," he began, his voice soft yet full of emotion, "I've been thinking a lot lately." She looked up at him, her breath catching in her throat. "What about?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "About us," he replied. "About what we could be, and what I want to offer you." Lily's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected this, not now. Not when things were still so new, so uncertain. "Ethan, she started, but he gently placed a finger on her lips, silencing her. "I know this is moving fast," he said, "but I don't want to wait anymore. I care about you more than I've ever cared about anyone. I want you in my life, and I want to be in yours, not just as a business partner, but as something more. Someone who loves you." Lily's eyes widened, and her heart swelled with emotion. She had been so afraid to feel this way, so afraid of letting herself be vulnerable. But in that moment, standing there with Ethan, she realized that she didn't want to live in fear anymore. She didn't want to hide her feelings. She took a deep breath, steadying herself before speaking. "Ethan, I care about you too," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I never thought I'd feel this way, but now I can't deny it." A soft smile spread across Ethan's face, and he reached out, taking her hands in his. "You don't have to deny it anymore," he said. "I'm here, and I want to build a future with you. Together." The words hung in the air between them, and for a moment, neither of them moved. Then, slowly, Lily nodded. "I want that too," she whispered. Ethan pulled her into an embrace, his arms strong around her. She felt the warmth of his love surrounding her, and for the first time in a long while, she felt completely at peace. They stood there for a few more moments, savoring the quiet, the connection, and the promise of a future that was now within their reach. As they walked back to the bakery, hand in hand, Lily realized that this was just the beginning of something beautiful. A new chapter, one that she would write with Ethan by her side. Lily's life had changed in ways she had never imagined. The bakery was flourishing, and with Ethan by her side, everything seemed to be falling into place. They were no longer just business partners. Their relationship had deepened, and what had started as a mutual respect and admiration had transformed into something much more, something undeniable. But with their growing closeness came new challenges. Ethan's business demands were intense, and Lily's newfound success brought its own pressures. There were days when the weight of running a business felt overwhelming, and the fear of failure began to creep back into her mind. Ethan could see it in her eyes. He knew how hard she was pushing herself, how much she feared letting anyone down, especially herself. One evening, after a long day at the bakery, Lily sat alone in her small apartment, staring at the stacks of paperwork and invoices scattered on the table. The pressure was mounting, and she could feel the anxiety building in her chest. She had come so far, but the fear of losing it all lingered. Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Ethan. Meet me at the park in 20 minutes. I've got something I want to share with you. Lily was surprised, but didn't question it. She quickly changed into something comfortable and made her way to the park, her heart pounding with curiosity. When she arrived, she found Ethan standing near a bench, waiting for her with a serious but kind expression on his face. "Lily," he began, his voice calm and steady. "I know things have been a bit overwhelming for you lately. I can see it in your eyes, and I know you're trying to carry all of this on your own. But you don't have to." Lily looked at him, her heart racing, unsure of what he was about to say. Ethan took a deep breath, stepping closer to her. "I want you to know that I'm here for you," he said softly. "Not just as a business partner, but as someone who cares about you more than anything. I believe in you, Lily. But I also want you to believe in yourself and understand that you don't have to do this alone." Lily felt her chest tighten as his words sunk in. She had been so focused on proving herself, so afraid of relying on anyone, that she had forgotten the most important thing. She wasn't alone. Ethan was here, and he wasn't going anywhere. "Ethan, I don't know what to say," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I've been so afraid of everything falling apart, of not being good enough." Ethan gently cupped her face in his hands, tilting her chin up so she could look into his eyes. "You are more than enough, Lily. You've worked harder than anyone I know, and you've built something incredible. But you don't have to carry the weight of it all on your own. Let me help you." The sincerity in his voice and the warmth in his touch made her heart swell. For the first time in a long time, Lily allowed herself to truly believe that she wasn't alone. They stood there in the quiet park, the cool breeze blowing softly around them, and Lily felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She had come so far on her own, but she was beginning to understand that it was okay to accept help, to trust in the people who cared about her. And Ethan was the first person she had ever truly trusted to be there for her. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice steady now. "Thank you for believing in me, for being here." Ethan smiled, his eyes filled with warmth and love. "Always, Lily, always." As they walked back to her apartment that night, hand in hand, Lily felt a sense of peace settle in her heart. She knew there would be more challenges ahead, but with Ethan by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came her way. Together, they could overcome anything. A few weeks passed, and Lily was beginning to feel the full weight of her new life. The bakery was thriving, and with Ethan's support, things seemed to be moving in the right direction. But something was shifting inside her, a subtle, growing unease. She had always been independent, always relied on herself, and now, with Ethan's love and generosity, she found herself questioning her own strength. Was she becoming too dependent on him? As much as she loved him, she didn't want to lose the part of herself that had gotten her to this point. One evening, after another successful day at the bakery, Lily sat on the couch in her small apartment, scrolling through old photos. She couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come. There was the girl who used to struggle to make ends meet, who had dreamed of a better life but never thought it was possible. And now here she was, living that dream. She was no longer just surviving. She was thriving. But as she stared at the pictures of her younger self, a familiar feeling crept in. Doubt. She loved Ethan with all her heart, but she couldn't shake the fear that she was losing herself in their relationship. She needed to figure out what she really wanted, not just for the bakery, but for her own future. That night, Ethan came over for dinner. As they sat at the table, Lily couldn't help but feel a distance between them. She had always been open with him, but tonight, something was different. The conversation flowed easily at first, but then, as they spoke about their future plans, Lily felt a tightness in her chest. She had always pictured herself running the bakery on her own terms, making decisions based on her own vision. But now, with Ethan so involved in every step of the process, she wasn't sure where her vision ended and his began. "Ethan," she said, her voice shaking slightly, "I need to talk to you about something." Ethan paused, his fork halfway to his mouth, concern flickering in his eyes. "What's wrong?" "It's just," she trailed off, trying to find the right words. "I feel like I've been leaning on you too much. I'm grateful for everything you've done for me, but I can't help but feel like I'm losing myself in all of this. I built this bakery because it was my dream. But now, I'm starting to wonder if I'm still following my own path, or if I'm just following yours." Ethan put down his fork, his expression serious but not hurt. He reached across the table and took her hand. Lily, I get it, he said softly. I've been a part of this with you because I believe in you. But I don't want you to feel like you're losing yourself. You've always had a strong vision, and I'm here to support that, not take it over. You're your own person, and I want you to remember that. Lily looked at him, her heart swelling with appreciation. His words were exactly what she needed to hear. She had been afraid that her independence would be compromised, that her love for him would somehow take away her strength. But here he was, reminding her that their relationship was built on mutual respect. Thank you, she said quietly, squeezing his hand. I needed to hear that. Ethan smiled, the warmth in his eyes never wavering. You're stronger than you think, Lily. And you're not alone in this. You never have to be. Over the next few days, Lily took some time to herself. She spent a few hours each day walking through the city, visiting different cafes, and reconnecting with the feeling of independence that had once defined her. As she walked, she realized that she wasn't losing herself at all. She was just evolving. She could have the life she dreamed of, and she could share it with someone who supported her vision, not overshadowed it. When she returned to the bakery, it was with a renewed sense of purpose. She knew what she wanted now. She wanted to continue building her dream. But this time, she knew how to balance her independence with the love and support she had found in Ethan. Together, they would create something that was uniquely theirs, but that never lost sight of who she truly was. A few months passed, and Lily's life had found a new rhythm. The bakery continued to thrive, her vision now fully realized, and Ethan was still by her side, supporting her in every way possible. But despite the success, something was stirring inside her, a quiet unease she couldn't quite shake. They had built this life together, but as their relationship deepened, Lily began to wonder what it would mean for her future. Would she lose herself again in the process? She had come so far from the girl who was struggling to buy a slice of bread, and now, she had the life she had always dreamed of, with Ethan by her side. Yet, she was still grappling with the balance between her independence and the love she had found. One evening, after closing the bakery for the night, Ethan and Lily sat on the steps outside, enjoying the calm of the street as the lights of the city flickered around them. The world felt at peace, but Lily's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. Ethan, she began, her voice quiet. Do you ever wonder if we've come too far too fast? Ethan turned to her, his eyes soft with understanding. What do you mean? He asked, his voice steady. I don't know, Lily replied, her fingers tracing the edge of the step beneath her. It's just, things have been going so well, but I'm afraid of losing myself again. I don't want to get caught up in something that's not really me, even if it's with you. Ethan listened carefully, his expression never changing. He had always respected Lily's need for independence, and he knew how much her bakery meant to her. Lily, he said softly, I think it's natural to feel that way. You've always been strong, and you've built this incredible life. But I don't want to take away from that. I want to add to it, not overshadow it. His words settled in her chest, and for the first time in a while, Lily felt like she could breathe. She wasn't losing herself in their relationship. She was growing with it. I just need to be sure, Lily said, her voice steady now. I need to know that I can still be the person I was before, even with you in my life. Ethan reached for her hand, his fingers warm against hers. You will always be you, Lily, he said with a smile. And I will always support you in being that person. I love you for who you are, not for who I want you to be. A wave of relief washed over her, and Lily leaned into him, her heart full. In that moment, she realized that the love they shared didn't diminish her independence, it enhanced it. She could still chase her dreams, run her bakery, and be the woman she had always wanted to be. With Ethan by her side, she didn't have to choose between love and independence. Together, they were building something strong, something that honored both of their dreams. Over the next few weeks, Lily threw herself into her work with renewed energy. She made some changes to the bakery, introduced new menu items, and even began planning for future expansions. Ethan was still there, as supportive as ever, but now there was a new sense of ease between them. They no longer had to prove anything to each other, they just were. As they sat together one evening, watching the sun set over the city, Lily turned to Ethan and smiled. You know, she said softly, I think I finally get it. It's not about losing myself or becoming someone else. It's about growing, together. I don't need to sacrifice who I am to be with you. And I'm so glad for that. Ethan smiled back, his eyes filled with love and pride. "I'm glad too, Lily. You're perfect just the way you are." And in that moment, as the city hummed softly around them, Lily knew that she had found the balance she had been searching for all along. She was building the life she had always dreamed of, one where love and independence coexisted in harmony. As time passed, Lily's life settled into a new rhythm. The bakery was doing better than ever, and she had grown into a confident business owner. But, more importantly, she had found balance. She no longer feared losing herself in the process of building her life with Ethan. They had built something beautiful together, a partnership that allowed both of them to thrive, individually and as a couple. Ethan had been there every step of the way, not just as a partner in business, but as a true partner in life. He had supported her dreams, never asked her to compromise, and always encouraged her to be the woman she was meant to be. Lily had grown in ways she never thought possible, but she had also kept the core of who she was intact. It was a delicate dance, finding the right balance between love and independence, but now, it felt effortless. One evening, after closing up the bakery, Ethan invited her to a quiet dinner at a small restaurant they both loved. It was a simple, intimate setting, the kind of place where they could relax and just be themselves. As they sat at the table, their hands intertwined, Lily felt a sense of peace wash over her. This was where she was meant to be, with Ethan by her side, building a life they both dreamed of. As dinner came to an end, Ethan looked at her with that familiar warmth in his eyes. He reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out a small, velvet box. Lily's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't expected this, not tonight, but she couldn't deny the excitement blooming in her chest. Ethan smiled, his eyes sparkling with love. "Lily," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I've spent so much of my life building a business, a career, but none of that matters without you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, supporting you, loving you, and growing with you. Will you marry me?" The room seemed to quiet around her, and for a moment, Lily could hardly breathe. Her heart was racing, her mind spinning. But the answer came to her without hesitation. "Yes," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "Yes, I will marry you." Ethan grinned, his eyes shining with happiness. He opened the box to reveal a beautiful ring, and Lily's heart swelled with joy as he slid it onto her finger. It felt like a dream, the culmination of everything they had built together. They spent the rest of the evening talking, laughing, and planning for their future. The future that, now, seemed so bright and full of possibility. As they walked home that night, hand in hand, Lily couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude. She had found love, success, and happiness, but most importantly, she had found herself. She was no longer the woman who was struggling to survive. She was the woman who had built her dreams, who had created a life filled with love, purpose, and possibility. And she knew, with Ethan by her side, that the journey ahead would be just as beautiful as the one they had already shared. Together, they had built a future, one where they could continue to grow, to love, and to support each other, no matter what challenges came their way. Lily had learned that love didn't mean losing yourself. It meant finding someone who helped you become the best version of yourself. And with Ethan, she knew she had found exactly that. In this inspiring tale, a young woman rises from hardship to achieve her dreams with the help of an unexpected millionaire. As she navigates through challenges, the story unfolds like many millionaire stories, where a simple act of kindness changes everything. From struggling to buy a slice of bread to owning her own thriving bakery, this journey reflects the power of perseverance, love, and support. As Lily's relationship with Ethan, a successful entrepreneur, blossoms, she discovers that millionaire stories are not just about wealth, but about finding someone who believes in you. Through her partnership with Ethan, she realizes that love and success go hand in hand. This millionaire story takes an emotional turn as she learns to balance her independence with the love and support she has found. Together, they build a life where both can thrive, proving that love, just like in many millionaire stories, is about growing together. This story reminds us that success is not just measured in wealth, but in the relationships and support that help us become the best version of ourselves. In the end, it is a beautiful reminder of how love and kindness can create millionaire stories that are about more than just money.